All right, welcome back. We were having a little gossip here in the studio with my guests, talking about a few things, but it's just between me and him, actually. We're going into a very next conversation here, and I can tell you that to most Nigerians, I recall that in 1999, some people said that when democracy returned to Nigeria, most people perhaps were a bit skeptical about how sustainable it was going to be, given the past history. You'll recall that democracy in 1982, 83 was truncated as well with a coup that actually brought in General Muhammadu Buhari at the time, you know, when Shagari was president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And in 1999, when Abdul Salami took over and, of course, returned the government to power, not too many people have given us a chance that we'll be here today with our democracy. Now, for me particularly, I refuse to regard our democracy as nascent. But then today on the conversation, we're talking 24 years of democracy, the gains, the pains, and the uncertainties. My guest today is an honorable member of the Ninth Assembly, talking about Jide Jimoh. He's here in the studio with us. Jide Jimoh, Honorable Jide Jimoh, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
You know, Saturday usually is a period where people want to just rest after a long week. I know in the House of Rep, for instance, for you people, it was valedictory, and virtually everybody had to speak about their experiences over the 4 years and all of that. But quickly, just share with us, what was it like for you in the Ninth Assembly?
Well, first and foremost, I have to give thanks to Almighty God, the ruler of heaven and the earth, who has created me and you and others, and who has also given us the opportunity to serve our people for the purpose of humanity. Having said that, it is very important to let me acknowledge, in particular, the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Tutor General of Nigerian politics, the man whom I served when we were in the House of Assembly. He was the governor of Lagos State, tested and trusted, the man with capacity and capability.
You know, we are not campaigning
I haven't said all this.
Yes.
No, I said you have to give me an opportunity to appreciate.
Yes, okay.
And somebody brought me down here.
Yeah.
The Lagos mainland people, the Lagos State.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. So I haven't said all those things. The experience of Ninth Assembly, there's no way we will sit down here and enumerate everything.
Yeah.
The one thing that is certain is that I am, and I'm not, if I say I am, because the Ninth Assembly has not expired, even though we have done the valedictory meeting session. Before the Ninth Assembly will expire, it's going to be on the 11th of this month.
Yeah.
So the new assembly will now be inaugurated. So I am still a member of Ninth Assembly.
Yeah, sure.
And for the fact that I was involved and I participated actively, I can mention some few things that I can count to be an achievement. First is Electoral Act. Another one is PIA Act, Petroleum Industry Act. Another one is KAMA, Company Allied Matters Act. Another one is Constitutional Amendments, and so on and so forth. And for the fact that God has made us to be involved, we should give thanks to Him. For the fact that people have supported us, we should appreciate them. I appreciate the number of people who have helped us to get to that place. I appreciate the people who we have worked together, because legislature is the busting of democracy and is something that requires collectivities and togetherness. You can't do it alone. That's why they call it representation. If you are not there and others are not there, you can't do anything. So for the fact that we are together and we are able to achieve one or two things, I give thanks to God. Those are the things I could just mention for now.
All right.
As the course go on, so I'm home.
You know, interestingly, when people talk about democracy, for people, you know, generally we're looking at 24 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. It's remarkable. Personally, even as a person, when we have this conversation about governance, some people are quick to point to the fact that in a democracy, it appears as though decision making is pretty slow, you know, and for them, that is a letdown it's a serious disadvantage for democracy. What is your response, or what has been your experience in this regard?
I have been involved in this democracy we are talking about, even though you call it that it's not nascent. I will also say it's not nascent as far as I'm concerned. Because if something has started for almost 3 decades, you can't call it nascent again. For the fact that since 1999 we have been on and on this democracy. Democracy, people don't know, is about partnership. It's about peace and progress. When you combine all these things together, they are intertwined. And you must ensure that it is not possible for you to make it as quick as possible. It has to be very slow and steady so that it's going to be productive. Where you want to rush it and you fail, people will still take you up and say that, well, you are not patient enough. And the essence of creating us by God is for us to be patient. If you are patient, you can always have whatever thing we want to have. Democracy, as far as I'm concerned, now is growing, is moving. But we can't compare our own democracy with that of the United States of America. We can't compare with Canada. We can't compare with Britain. Because these people have been there for years. We have just started. But I can tell you, we are growing, we are moving. The essence of democracy is participatory. The essence of democracy is to recognize the 3 tiers of government. The essence of democracy is to recognize the 3 arms of government. When we are talking of arms, we are talking of legislature, executive, and judiciary. So one cannot stand alone without the other. So whatever thing you want to do, as in democracy, you have to ensure you allow morality, wisdom, voice of reasoning to take place before you can do it. If you are legislature, and as a lawmaker, you want to do certain things, you have to think about what you want to do. Will this thing be good for humanity or bad for humanity? If you think it's going to be good, and the executive decide that, no, we can't take this, and you disagree, the judiciary will come down to settle it for you. That's essence. It's like chain, value chain, interconnection, intertwine. And that's the thing we have to recognize in democracy. It might be slow, but slowing does not mean it has to be negative. It has to be productive. The productivity is what we have to hold on, so that the positivities of that productivity will work for us.
But then, I like the fact that you spoke about the fact that democracy is a recognition of 3 arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Now, a lot of people will say that the judiciary has not necessarily gotten the sort of attention it should get. You see, I'm sure you have also come across several messages where people would say the judiciary is corrupt, the judiciary is underfunded, the judiciary also has been gagged. We saw instances where, I'll give an example with the past administration, where the residence of certain judges, Supreme Court judges were raided. There was also an attempt to raid the residence of Justice Ordili as well. You know, when you see all of these things, isn't that true? What talk about the judicial arm of democracy, of government, which plays a critical role in democracy?
Yeah, the judiciary must be assertive, because the judiciary is an authority by itself. And in taking decisions, you have to be assertive. And you have to follow the rule of law. There's nothing like arm twisting techniques in democracy. There's nothing like arm twisting.
But we see that happening.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not acceptable. And you can challenge that in democracy. The rule of law must prevail. Democracy is about constitutionality. You can't just take laws into your hand and do whatever you want to do at any time. If you do that, and the law takes you up, you are going to be culpable for that. The judiciary must assert its authority as the necessary arm of government that can adjudicate at any point in time on any issue. Whatever is the final is finality as far as judiciary is concerned. Because you have to take things to them, table it. This is mine, this is yours. Who is going to settle this? The judiciary.
But how have they fared in this 23 years
when
of
you are now
democracy?
saying that some people are saying judiciary are corrupt, that's an allegation. If you discover that somebody is corrupt, report that person or that authority to an appropriate quarters, so that appropriate agency will take it up. And at the end of the day, they will prosecute. Whatever is the result of prosecution is going to be final. And that's what we should base any decision upon. Where we are saying somebody is corrupt, I can't it to be an allegation. As far as I'm concerned. When you are now saying that they are underfunding, they are there. They have the Supreme Court president. I mean, is that Chief Justice of Supreme Court?
Yeah.
They have, who is the chairman and the executive of the body of benchers. They have the right to make complaint. They have the right to make submission to the National Assembly. This is our problem. How do we go about it? But whatever the National Assembly we have to do has to come from whatever revenue that is coming up, because we are short of revenue as far as this country is concerned. And you can see just of recent, we passed the bill that increased the number of retired age from 65 to 70 across board. So that's an advantage to them. Others don't have that kind of advantage because we need them. Because we don't have so many number of them. And those ones we have, if you retire them prematurely, who's going to be in charge of the bench? Nobody again. So we have to keep on with those people while others will be coming up gradually to support them. That's the essence.
Let's look at the issue of free speech, for instance. Now, free speech is one critical component of a democracy. Now, this debate comes up and some people are like, I mean, there should be a limit to what free speech is. You know, when you even see the activities on social media, that is a different ballgame entirely. But then I'll speak specifically to the areas of agitation, for instance. Before now, we've never had secessionist groups coming up, but we've had them in this democracy. Are you impressed with the way the secessionist groups have been, the issues have been treated? Talking about, notably, we'll have the indigenous people of Biafra, and then we'll have the Yoruba nation agitators as well. Are you impressed with the way these agitations have been handled, or issues of free speech generally?
The freedom of speech is allowed in the Constitution of Nigeria as amended. And all over the whole world, we have freedom of speech. But there's limits to whatever you can say. You can't say you have freedom of speech and sit down here and say, Mr. President, you are stupid. On moral ground, you have not done well. On moral ground. So that's your freedom. Does not allow you to abuse any other person's freedom. Asking somebody that face to face that you are done, you are this, you are that, people can take you up. That's number one. Democracy allows protest. That's why I say it is about participation. It's about peace and progress. All these three things combined together does not translate you to take laws into your hands. Whatever speech or whatever thing you have that you want to say, you have to say within the confines of the law. You have to make sure you follow the rule of law. The Constitution is there. As you have your own right, I have my own right. You can't say because you have your right, you have to slap me. The right does not ask you to slap me. If you do, you have violated my own right. And I can take you up again. And that will result into crisis that will lead to any other thing entirely. So agitations is also acceptable. But there's a way you can agitate. You can't take laws to your heart while you are agitating. You can go to the National Assembly, put up your placard peacefully, protest, and let people see what you have come for. Bench it in a manner that will be peaceful, colorful, and in a manner that will be attractive, so that people will listen to you. Not in a manner that you turn to arm twisting. You want to protest and say you have a right, and you are coming with cutlass.
But that is not always the case.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if anybody is doing that, that person has to be arrested. That's not, it's against the law completely. But in agitation, you are free to do that, but do not take laws into your hand. If you do that, you're against the law of the land, and the law of the land will take its course.
Now, you've often mentioned peace here while we're speaking, and I know that before the end of the Buhari administration, a couple of people had made entreaties to him to see the possibility of releasing Nnamdi Kanu, for instance. For Sunday Ogboho, it's a different case entirely. He's not even on the shores, in the shores of the country. But then looking at Nnamdi Kanu and what has happened in the Southeast, basically, that same entreaty or same demand or request was made to the president, the CNC, by the Enugu State governor. And some persons have also suggested that, look, releasing Kanu Wako might just be the antidote to bring peace back to the Southeast and, by extension, in Nigeria as a whole. Would you subscribe to a move like that?
Well, I will. But one thing is certain. You know, whoever is the governor or whoever is elected, and the president in particular, are sworn into an oath by the virtue of holding the Constitution and believing in what he believes upon, either Quran or Bible or any other theory or affirmation. You have to follow that oath, because the oath is very important. You cannot contradict that oath. Where you have contradicted that, the law of the land will take its course against you. For the fact that people who are asking Nnamdi Kanu should be released, it's not a criminal offense. It's a very good request from the body and from the tribe. Having said that, the law of the land has to take its course too, because the issue of Nnamdi Kanu is also in the court of law. The president or the governor, they don't have any other thing to do other than to allow the court of law to take its course. If Nnamdi Kanu has a good case, he will win at the end of the day. It's not going to be the president that will adjudicate on Nnamdi Kanu case in the court. But whatever is the other thing, when you get to the court, you table your own case, a counter case, the person that will adjudicate will take decision, and that final will be the finality. I think for me, let the rule of law take its course. If there's agreement between the executive arm of government or the president or the country and the tribe involved, they can withdraw the case from the court of law with agreements that is going to be duly signed. When that is done, fine. But it's in the situation whereby you have said, okay, I will do that. I have allowed you. Nnamdi Kanu, the first time he was being given bail, he was not, we had to be found. So the government will now say that this is a person that had been tested before when he was given the bail. And at the end of it, we cannot see him again until we was able to be arrested somewhere and brought down to the country. For them to now do another mistake of releasing him will now not cause problem. So the new government is there now. The new government has now put a suspension on CBN, in which the former administration did not do. That's another way out. So they can find a way of reconcile and get the result.
All right, let's now look at this holistically, because on the 12th of June, which is just next week, Nigeria will be celebrating Democracy Day. And we all know the history behind Democracy Day, the struggle, and where we are today. If you look at the journey so far, what have been our major gains? What are those things you say, you look at and you say, no, this is why we have a democracy? You're glad that we have a democracy for this 23 years.
Well, you know, like I said, when we were talking, I did say that democracy is a partnership, progress and peace.
Yeah.
And you can't compare it with military government. Military government is unilateral. The head of state can do anything at any time. The elected president can never do anything at any time. It has to follow the rule of law. Yeah. And it will take its course from one place to the other before decision will be made. Yeah. But in the last 24 years that we have been involved in this democracy, I thank God that I was also part of that thing you are talking about, even the June 12. Yeah. I'm not a small person. I was in government at that time when this thing came up. Everybody felt that how could this one come up just anyhow? But we thank God that democracy has taken over now and things is moving gradually. See the number of infrastructure in the last 24 years we have introduced during this administration. The last administration did it so, the Jonathan administration did it so, Yar'Adua administration did it so, Obasanjo administration did it so, ditto others. The current administration will also do it so. And look at the number of people who have been engaged one way or the other. Elected governors, elected deputy governor, number of secretary to the government of the state, number of the secretary to the government of local government, this and that, you can see that employment is coming up gradually, either direct or indirect. Establishment of agencies and some other thing. Employment is also coming down. People are graduating. We have more universities, unlike before. We have more private universities, unlike before. We have more people who are now moving from one place to the other freely without any harassment. You can sit down somewhere and be discussing, nobody will come to you. During the military era, if you dare not sit down somewhere, they will tell you, you bloody civilian, what are you doing here? Please leave here. Nobody will challenge them. If you challenge, nobody will hear you. So in democracy, judiciary is coming up and they are taking decisions. There are so many major decisions in which judiciary has taken in this country that have been meaningful. So we can see that democracy is also at cost in that place. So in the last 24 years, I think we are growing and we are moving.
So what do we need to do correctly? And now, this is not in comparison with the USA or England, but then one other area, just as we beat to round up, most people are quick to say that our democracy is quite expensive, looking at the fact that we are operating the presidential system. Some have said that the National Assembly, for instance, we don't necessarily need two houses there. You don't need the Senate and the House of Representatives. That has also been an argument that some people have thrown up. Now, when you look at all of this, what do we do moving forward so that in years and decades from now, people will look back and celebrate this journey of democracy? What are those things we need to put in?
If you are running presidential system of government, you need the two houses, both Senate and Reps. But I can suggest, and which I have been saying all over, that the number can be reduced. You can have one senator per state. Have one in Abuja, make it to be 37.
Won't that make it extremely competitive?
Let it be competitive. That's the essence of democracy. We can reduce the number of House of Reps from 360 to 180, or maybe to 150. Distribute it to various states.
But you make the laws.
No, that's what I'm saying. I said that when you ask question, you allow me to answer you.
Please go ahead.
And I will tell you why I've mentioned that. Okay. Why even I was serving.
Yeah.
I've been saying it time without number, that the number of 360 House of Representatives, to me, are too much. 360. 109 senators. Reduce the number to 30, 31. Reduce that of House of Reps to 150. The amount of money you will save will be utilized for another thing entirely. That's number one. Number two, it is very difficult to do now, because it's going to involve constitutional amendment. The people that are there, they might not want to propose that because they know they will be affected. When you do that, you move down to various states, they might reject it. And before the constitution can become a permanent document, it has to go through the processes of two-thirds passage of the majority of the two houses and two-thirds of the 36 states. You can see. So that's my suggestion as far as that's concerned. One day it might come, I might not say. But for now, it might be very difficult. Okay. Because people are now involved. And those people that are involved, that are now there now, how can they now stand up to do something that will against them? People will take on. Even me, as I'm saying now, people will take me up now. That why are you suggesting that? Why are you suggesting that? And I've been suggesting that time without number. But the issue of democracy, we said that is very important to us. Look at Lagos State. It was democracy, or it is this democracy that allows us to create additional local government in Lagos State. Unlike before, we have only 20, with a number of 25 million people, with only 20 local governments. No, it's never done anywhere. That's why we increased the number from 20 to 57. And from increasing that number to 20 to 57, we are creating additional job. We now have council managers, 57 places, council treasurer in 57 places, council secretary in 57 places, unlike 20. So 57 multiplied by 3, you can see number of people that have been employed. Engineers in 57 places, and so on and so forth. And people are getting employment. The employment is going on fine within the system. And democracy is good and is better than any military government.
That's a good way to end the conversation. And it's been an interesting conversation indeed with our guest, Honorable Jide Jimoh, member of the 9th Assembly House of Representatives. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
As we look forward again to this journey, another 24 years of democracy in Nigeria. It's been an interesting program on News Hub Extra this morning, and I hope and I strongly hope that with all that we've heard from Honorable Jimoh this morning, we'll be looking forward to having him more often here on News Hub to interact with us and talk about particularly what he just said here about cutting down the number of senators and even House of Representative members. We'll wait to see how that will happen. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being a part of the program. My name is Aon Dunai Ingia. Do have a lovely weekend. I'll see you next time around.